Unitarian Universalist Church in Springfield, a welcoming congregation. We have committed ourselves to be fully welcoming to lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer individuals and their families, and to work for full equality in our society. We welcome all who wish to join in this journey of welcome. My name is Jeff Tafdick. I'm one of the members of the Board of Trustees. If you are a guest with us today, we invite you to simply enjoy being with us. You're welcome to join us afterwards for our little Zoom coffee hour and conversation with other members and friends. Do we have any? I don't see, but I don't think we have any new faces today, but if we do, somebody who is, raise their hand and introduce themselves. But I think everybody who's I can see here has been with us before. So good to see you all again, as Sharon said, from near and far. And as Sharon mentioned, I guess the announcements will be at the end of the service. So once again, welcome, and we're going to enjoy some mind gardening today, I guess.
We gather this hour as people of faith, with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning, in celebration of the life we share together. Christine Robinson. We bring to the earth, we belong to the earth. This we know, the earth does not belong to us. We belong to the earth. This we know, all things are connected, like the blood which unites one family. All things are connected. Whatever befalls the earth, befalls the sons and daughters of the earth. We did not weave the web of life. We are merely a strand in it. Whatever we do to the web, we do to ourselves. Attributed to Chief Noah Seal. And now we are going to hear from Bill Brink, who is going to sing Johnny's Garden.
Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve the needs of all beings, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with each other and with the source of our being. And now Diane has a story for us.
So I am outside, so my garden is behind me, back there. And I just will need, this is Before We Eat by Pat Brisson, illustrated by Mary Azarian. And quite a few years ago, the children performed this. It was actually when Tilia was really little, so that's how long ago it's been. Before we eat, from farm to table. As we sit around this table, let's give thanks as we are able to all the folks we'll never meet who helped provide this food we eat. They plowed the ground and planted seeds, tended fields, removed the weeds. Oh, here's the tended fields, and remove the weeds. They pick the food at harvest time, working in the heat and grime. They grazed the cattle, fed the sows, gathered eggs, and milked the cows. They fished from boats out on the seas, raised wheat and nuts and honeybees. Thank the ones who bought this food, the ones who teach us gratitude. Oops, something looks a little skipped here. I'm going to go back to this. Thank the ones who packed the crates, sorted boxes, checked the weights. Here we go. Thank the drivers on the roads in their trucks with heavy loads. And all the clerks at all the stores who did the grocery selling chores. Thank the ones who bought this food, the ones who teach us gratitude. Sitting at this meal we share, we are grateful and aware. Sending thanks upon the air to those workers everywhere before we eat.
Thank you so much, Diane. What a perfect story for this service. We're now going to do a guided meditation. Deb has put together a slideshow from a number of our gardens. And so I am going to ask you, this will be a blended kind of guided meditation, where I'll start out asking you to close your eyes. But at some point, you have to open your eyes so you get to see all these beautiful pictures from our gardens. All right. So now I'm going to ask you to close your eyes and allow yourself to get comfortable. Begin with a few slow, deep breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. Letting your body get relaxed in and out. Let the chair fully support your body as you continue to breathe and relax. Now, use your imagination to picture yourself walking slowly along a path. It's a pleasant path, and it's a beautiful day, and you feel relaxed and happy. You can feel the warmth of the sunlight on your skin. You keep walking along, and soon you come to a gate. You know that this gate leads to a garden where you feel welcomed, safe, and comfortable. Push the gate open and allow yourself to enter this garden. Now, open your eyes. Deb, are you going to start the slideshow now? Continue to breathe while Deb starts the slideshow. You are comfortable, relaxed, and anticipating this beautiful slideshow. This garden is filled with your favorite things. Whatever is pleasing to you can be found in this place. Perhaps there are flowers, birds singing, lots of vegetables around. Look around and notice what is in this garden. See all the colors and objects that are in this place. Notice how beautiful they are. Look at the various shapes and see how different they are. The garden is calm and tranquil. Everything peacefully coexists in this garden. What kind of plants do you see? Do you see any friends? Begin to explore this place with your sense of touch. Perhaps some things are soft and warm, and others are smooth and cool. Simply spend some time exploring, using your sense of touch as you continue to feel at peace and comfortable. Touch the soil, digging into the soft earth. You see a box with packets of seeds and are drawn to plant some in the rich dirt. What kinds of seeds do you plant? Notice what the air feels like. Is there a breeze? Take the time to feel the peace and serenity in this place. As you continue to explore your garden by seeing and feeling, become aware of the sounds that you hear in your garden. Become aware of what smells you might smell. Take a deep breath in and notice the fragrances that are present. The smells are pleasant and soothing. Take your time and enjoy your visit to the garden. Spend the time that is necessary for you to rejuvenate and to care for yourself. You have enjoyed your visit to the garden and feel relaxed and content. This good feeling will remain with you throughout the day. That was our intro to get you into the feeling of being in a garden. And I just want to talk a little bit now about gardening. And I'll tell you what my number one rule is. Gardening should be enjoyable. Don't allow yourself to get stressed. If you start to feel overwhelmed or too many weeds or too much time, just stop, take a breath, and relax and get in touch with the joy you feel in the garden. Number one rule. And I just want to touch base with the idea of what is happening this year that has shifted a bit for a lot of people with this pandemic starting as we became aware of it in our lives in March. A lot of people decided either to grow a garden for the first time, because it's a good thing to do with your spare time, and maybe that extra food would come in handy. And people who have gardens already thought, wow, I'm going to dig up a little more soil and plant more. Well, some of us who have been gardening for a while go ahead and place orders for seeds in the winter, and we get them in late winter and start seeds for vegetables in the spring. And what happened when a lot of people who didn't have those orders ahead of time went to their stores to buy seeds in seed racks? Gone, almost empty. At least a lot of the favorite, more popular seeds were gone because nobody had planned for this huge growth in backyard gardens. And it harkens back to what people did in World War II and probably time immemorial, what they called then victory gardens, where a whole lot of what people ate during World War II came from their backyards. So that has been a big thing this year. And the reality is that a lot of people have been food insecure. They've lost their jobs. We've seen long lines at food banks and food giveaways. And so we think about, how can we help? How can I help in my garden? One thing that I've noticed is that this year there have been more local people who have been sharing their knowledge, sharing their seeds. There are libraries that have seed banks. I had a friend who lost some of her sun gold cherry tomatoes, and so I gave her a couple, and she gave me a couple beautiful paste tomatoes. There's folks in Chester who have started a Victory Garden in the 21st Century Facebook page. And once a week they have a Zoom call. They've had some experts on gardening there and sharing tips on how to grow, how to handle pests, how to put food by. So there's been more of a focus on local gardening. I think this is a good thing. And later in the program, we'll talk about a new effort that we are starting right here in our church community to share the bounty of those of us who have extra in our gardens. So this is a 3-part sermon. The next part goes over to Julaine.
This time of year, I tend to have less to do in my garden. The planting is done. The cleanup is kind of ahead of us. We're in limbo a little bit. I get to go out to my garden to harvest what I want to eat or what I need for cooking. And I look around for weeds that need to be taken care of. But lately, there are less and less weeds. The horticultural definition of a weed is a plant that's growing in the wrong place. And it's a highly personal definition because what you may think is a weed, I may think is a pretty flower, and vice versa. When our European ancestors invaded this country, they brought with them many useful plants, which we all now consider to be weeds. The dandelions, mullein, oxalis or wood sorrel, St. John's wort, garlic mustard, you see a lot of that all over the place. Burdock, all of these are edible, and many of them have medicinal qualities. They all grow in Vermont, in our fields, in our pastures, on the roadsides, and in our gardens. My favorite, and probably the most invasive of these, is Japanese knotweed. I do not have it on my property, and for that I am grateful. But I'm also very, very grateful for the existence of Japanese knotweed because it's a cure for Lyme disease. I have had Lyme disease for over 20 years, and without Japanese knotweed, I would not be able to function. It is a favorite of the herbalist Harold Buhner, and he writes of it extensively in his book, Healing Lyme. If you know somebody with Lyme disease, Japanese knotweed is their friend. Although it's very difficult to eradicate, so I would not recommend planting it on your property. Years ago, I did a lot of reading about permaculture. And in the practice of permaculture, weeds are considered to be often beneficial. If we leave them where they are, many times they will help to improve the soil. Weeds with a taproot, particularly, reach below the topsoil to the subsoil, which is much more mineral rich than the topsoil is. And in this process, they break up the subsoil and they aerate it. And they tap into the minerals in the subsoil and bring them up into their leaves and stems. And then in the fall, when they die back, they leave a gift of needed minerals, which incorporate into the topsoil and help the plants around them. So Queen Anne's lace, those beautiful wild pink mallows, these are examples. Dandelions also have a taproot, which is dried and used for a tea, which is good for the liver. The taproot of burdock is used extensively in Asian cuisine. It's a very, very big root and really hard to dig up. And it's used in herbal medicine as a blood purifier, along with many other applications. Some weeds, like goldenrod and asters, are attractive to pollinators, and they're a valuable food asset for them in the later summer months. We keep those in our garden, although the goldenrod needs to be watched carefully or it'll get out of control. It spreads via its roots, goes everywhere. So does my mint, but one we consider a weed, and one is considered a valuable culinary herb. Although lately I've been cutting the goldenrod and bringing it indoors for cut flowers. In an experiment with permaculture years ago, Ed and I decided to leave our weeds in place one summer. On occasion, I had to dig a cultivated plant out a bit from its overzealous neighbors, but for the most part, we left it all in place. In the end, I was not able to cope with the judgment of my neighbors and my own discomfort with the mess. I could not continue with that more than that 1 year. People thought we had moved. In fact, I had phone calls from people wondering where we had gone because our garden looked like such a mess. They were sure we had left. We all have our own personal weeds in the gardens of our personalities. Weeds, the things that we aren't proud of, like envy and anger. Think about it for a moment. What are the weeds in your own personal soul garden? I have some, and I bet you do too. Frustration, shame, pride. Type in the comment box if you like, although I bet most of us won't want to share. These personal weeds are not things we are proud of. We try our hardest to eradicate them, or at least ignore them or cover them up. But maybe our weeds are like the dandelions in the Queen Anne's lace. Maybe they have gifts for us. A weed with a taproot is hard to dig out. It breaks off and keeps coming back again and again. It can't just be covered over with mulch. It'll push through and continue to flourish over and over. If you really want to eradicate it, you need to do some work. Dig deeply to the very end of the root and slowly tease it out. You have to be gentle with it, or it will break off and start up all over again. Do we really want to rip it up? Does it have something to teach us about ourselves? Why is it there? Will understanding it, instead of striving to eradicate it, be more helpful in the end? Will it nourish us with understanding? Perhaps we should acknowledge its existence, realize why it is there, perhaps even appreciate its gifts, and incorporate those gifts in our garden as reminders of who we are and who we want to be. The Buddhist monk everyone knows, Thich Nhat Hanh, wrote a piece called The Great Bell Chant. And toward the end of the piece is one of my favorite quotes. He says, "Flowers of peace bloom in the garden of my heart." Some of you who have sung with me know a paraphrasing of that because I wrote a song around that particular quote. Flowers of peace bloom in the garden of my heart. We may envision this garden of the heart as blooming lavishly with roses or peonies or lotus flowers. But perhaps, really, the garden of all of our hearts is also inhabited by helpful weeds that teach us to be more understanding and peaceful souls.
We've heard from Sharon about the practical nature of gardening, and Julaine has given us some very interesting and thoughtful ideas about weeds. Definitely food for thought. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about the larger picture. If you think about it, our whole planet is one very big garden. We have huge expanses of gardens from places such as the redwood forest, the Everglades, the Amazon, and other equatorial rainforests of Africa and Asia. There are innumerable, exquisite, some quite manicured gardens all over the world, such as the Jardin du Château de Versailles, the Kew Gardens in London, the Nong Nooch Gardens of Pattaya, Thailand, and the Keukenhof Gardens in Lis, Netherlands, also known as the Garden of Europe, and is the largest flower garden in the world. In my research, I found dozens of botanical gardens, all of which I'd love to visit if I only had another lifetime or two. One of the 7 principles that guides us as Unitarian Universalists is respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. Let me repeat that. Respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. We, not just yous, but we as a whole are caregivers of our planet and of each other. We are each responsible for nurturing our world, nurturing ourselves, and nurturing each other. Our lives are like a garden. We need love and tending to, as a garden needs love and attention. I consider it an honor and a responsibility to be a part of all of this. And I'm grateful to be a part of this community, which is involved in nurturing our world and each other and making this world worthy of leaving to future generations. We are so blessed. So even if you don't have a garden to tend, or if you do, maybe go help someone else. Work in a community garden. Donate time or money to the larger web of existence. Come tomorrow with your excess of abundance, or take away from the abundance of others who have brought theirs. Happy tending. Sharon, do you have something you want to add to that?
Yes, I do. I want to make sure you know the specifics of what Tina and I are going to be doing tomorrow. This came up as we were planning this service on gardening and talking about food insecurity and how we can all help each other. So this is something that we can do locally. And I encourage those of you who live too far away to come and join us, to find ways that you can share food with others where you are. But here we have had the practice in the summer, whenever we'd meet, whoever had more than enough in their own gardens would bring a box and put it in our activities room and just leave it there to let people help themselves. Oh, it's a great way to share, you know, like zucchini. And we also have had the practice of every Sunday when we met, many people would bring a food item for the family center. And obviously we haven't been able to do that for months and months. And I feel the sorrow of not being able to do that. So we came up with a plan. This is it. Starting tomorrow, Monday, the 17th, from 10 to 12, Tina and I will show up at the church and have our chairs and be socially distant, and we will collect whatever people who have more than enough in their own gardens. If you could come around 10 o'clock or as soon thereafter as you can, then we will have that abundance and other people can come in and take some. And anybody who wants to can also bring an item for the family center. And at noon, whatever we have left, we'll go over there to the family center. I called the family center to just check timing and, you know, if they were open to it and so on. And the woman who took my call, I heard her say, oh, I've got some friends, we have gardens, we want to contribute, etc. And she said, oh, hold on. And she repeated what I said very enthusiastically to the person next to her. So they are very excited to be able to have that. They're all set. So I invite you to participate tomorrow if you can. And we will continue through the growing season every Monday, 10 to 12. So yeah, please participate. And I tomorrow have lots of kale. I will be bringing, I have 4 kinds of kale. I'll also bring basil and parsley and cucumbers, maybe some other stuff, but that's what I've got. So We'll see what happens. Yay. And now, Tina and I are going to do a reading, and we invite you to use speaker view. Tina, are you ready?
Yep.
Okay. Once more, the fields have ripened to harvest, and the fruitful earth has fulfilled the promise of spring.
The work of those who labor has been rewarded. They have sown and reaped, planted and gathered.
How rich and beautiful is the bounty gathered, the golden grain and clustered corn, the grapes of purple and green.
The crimson apples and yellow pears and all the colors of orchard and garden, vineyard and field.
Season follows after season, after winter, the spring, after summer, the harvest-laden autumn.
From bud to blossom, from flower to fruit, from seed to bud again, the beauty of earth unfolds.
From the harvest of the soil, we are given occasion to garner a harvest of the heart and mind.
A harvest of resolve to be careful stewards of all life's gifts and opportunities.
A harvest of reverence for the wondrous power and life at work in things that grow and in the soul.
A harvest of gratitude for every good which we enjoy and of fellowship for all who are sustained by earth's beauty. Percival Chubb.
Our closing words are from Psalm 65. Thus have you prepared the land, drenching its furrows, breaking up its clods, softening it with showers, blessing its yield. You have crowned the year with your bounty and with abundant harvest. The fallow meadows overflow. The valleys are blanketed with flocks. They shout and sing for joy.